pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Come to order.
Thank you. Seriously, thank you all for coming. I think it's always better to see a community that is involved and passionate about what's going on than having a board meeting that has 2 people that come, which is what I've seen in other communities. So thank you all for taking time out of your Friday to come here. First on my announcements is I've had multiple questions as far as what do other communities do, and I've talked to them this week, and that's more homework slips. Thank you. I've talked to them this week. Every community that I've talked to in the area, Sun Lakes, the different 4 seasons that are managed in the area, Solera and Sun City, Apple Valley, all have no restrictions on guests for clubs and groups. Whatever there is, it was. I am by no means advocating for that here. I am merely responding to a question that was asked. What do the other communities do? And I'm letting you all know what they do. Again, not saying that we should do that. Next slide, please. So the purpose of today's meeting is to go over the club and group class guest policy and in general, the rules for the clubs, groups, and classes. And there is some confusion in the rules, and I've talked to a former board member and former committee members of the Rules and Regs Committee when they drafted these rules, and there's a discrepancy where in item 2, as you can see, it says that there's a club is for residents only. However, in section 7, it says that a club, non-guest, let me read it too. One second. A non-resident may not participate in any club activity where a vendor is paid a fee. Conversely, that would say that a non-resident may participate in a club event where a vendor is not paid a fee. So there is some confusion in the rules as they stand right now on that. Let's see. Next would be homeowner input. And as a reminder, it's limited to 3 minutes per homeowner. Only 1 request to speak form may be submitted per homeowner. There will be no sharing or passing time to another person. Homeowner input may be held for a maximum period of 30 minutes before the board meeting begins to allow the business of the board to proceed. Everyone's obviously welcome to stay for the entire meeting. There has been other questions as far as why doesn't the board talk back or answer things when the homeowner brings something up, and they are not allowed to by law. During an open forum portion of board meeting or members may ask questions, but the board's ability to answer them is limited by statute. As provided in California Civil Code 4930, Section B, boards may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed, or ask a question for clarification, make a brief announcement, or make a brief report on the person's own activities. So again, it's not that the board's trying to be not open and honest. I think this proves that the board is trying to be open by having a meeting where homeowners can come, and we have 300 people and had to open up the 3rd section. But the board is not allowed to have a dialogue with homeowners in open forum. That's what other meetings are for, committee meetings. I have an open door policy. I know Lynn and the other board members talk to people all the time, either at their home or on the phone or email. So I just wanted to clarify that before we get into homeowner input. And the first speaker is Joanne Terrell.
People coming into our facility, but they would have to come with the owner. So that was my only comment, but I just was kind of curious about the origin of why this even came up in the beginning. That's really my main concern and question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is ZNAP. Or PZAP. 1566 Rio Grande.
Good morning. I have one question, and that is basically, how are these changes benefiting the residents of Four Seasons? Like the lady before me mentioned, we're a community and we appreciate the volunteerism of the board.
Speaking to the
I'm sorry.
board.
Loud, okay. I appreciate the board and the volunteerism that they're giving us. The first question I had was, I simply want to know how this change will actually benefit the residents and the property owners of Four Seasons. Other than that, I was unable to listen to Eric's video yesterday, the volume of playing it. I'm sorry I wasn't loud enough to be into this ear. But I'd just like to know, how will this benefit all of us?
Next is Pam Morales.
My name is Pam Morales, and I live at 432 Glacier Park. I am chair of the social committee, and I am in charge of the Thursday Canasta group. Currently, social committees' feet are being held to the fire by being mandated to collect individual checks from every household purchasing tickets for our future events. This is to ensure non-residents are not gaining access to our events over residents. Our other groups, such as PAC or Ballroom Dance, for example, having to account for who their tickets are given out to or who they are purchased by? No, they are not. Our board is now presenting a proposal that would encourage us to function as the Beaumont and Pass Community Center by increasing the number of non-residents who occupy a chair at card games, groups, classes, and other larger functions, and preventing residents from attending. It is already happening without this increase. You want names? I will give you names. Currently, these guests, who come here 1 to 3 times per week or more, have become pseudo-residents and wander around unescorted, visiting the library, coming in to see the movies, etc. There seems to be a double standard. Non-residents should never become regulars at any of our activities. I do not like seeing our residents unhappy because they were told they cannot participate while people from Hemet, Solaris, Sun Lakes, and Beaumont occupy a chair currently. This is currently happening and it must stop. I feel it will only get worse with this new proposal. We need to secure our community and make the necessary changes at our gate entry system once build out is complete. Something similar to Sun Lakes. You practically need a passport to get through those gates. Thank you.
Regina Farmer.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me? No. No? Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? No. Can you hear me now? Yes. Well, a lot of other things, but Eric did a pretty good job of explaining some things to me that I didn't particularly understand. Still can't hear me? Okay, thank you. So I do have a question, and I want to ask Jolene Cooley. Has this been vetted financially? Have we looked at what impact this might have on us financially with bringing outside people in and the wear and tear on our building, on our carpets, on our bathrooms, on our furniture? If somebody takes a fall, if there's an accident in the parking lot, are we upping our liability insurance? And if so, is this cost being passed on to the homeowner? So I don't know if you can answer that for me, Jolene, but anyway, that's a question that I have. I just want to make sure that financially this has been vetted and that we know, this is going to be a cost to us, the homeowners. Eric, you mentioned something about Sun Lakes. Well, I came from Sun Lakes over to this beautiful community called Four Seasons, which I call a Disneyland for adults. I think we have the most beautiful community here. And Sun Lakes does have a very strict policy, and as my fellow homeowner spoke earlier, you practically need a passport to get into Sun Lakes. And the reason for this is because outside people were coming in, and they were basically stealing from Sun Lakes. They were not paying for the bar tabs, they weren't paying for their meals, and they were stealing things out of, if you can believe it, they were stealing things out of the clubhouse. And I personally know this because I live there. So, in closing, I just want to say, I hope we're doing the right things for our communities, for our homeowners. I hope we're not jeopardizing our safety by allowing people in that we don't know to take advantage of our beautiful Disneyland for adults. And I hope you keep Four Seasons residents first, on the top, always. And remember that we're here because we want to be here and we're paying dues to be here. So please protect us.
Next is Phil Irving.
Hi, I live on Bloomington Park Avenue. This all started with me about a year ago. I had a private meeting with 2 or 3 other homeowners and the management, high up in management. And we were told that we were upset with so many people coming through. And we were told at that time that they could do whatever they wanted and that they thought it was neat that they could have quite a few people coming in to support our clubs and groups. And I said, well, we pay your dues. You should not be making the rules. We should follow the rules and regulations and the board. I had another meeting. Each time I had witnesses with me, and I was told again by someone else high up in management, the same story. We thought we had this nipped in the bud when action was taken against the Duplicate Bridge Group. I can understand what they're trying to do, but it costs us money and eventually it'll ruin our club if we have too many outsiders. Recently, we couldn't even understand what we were voting on. The 1 minute, which was 3 minutes by Eric on the, I guess it was a video, YouTube. It made some sense, but then it got so convoluted, a lot of us couldn't understand it. I believe that in the future it should go to vote, that we should have proxies here that watch the voting and help them count it. I feel that we can't trust the board anymore. There are 2 members on the board. One member said he likes a lot of people coming and visiting and being in the clubs, associations, because he thinks it's more fun. But that costs us when people think that. That's one board member. The new board member, unbeknownst to us before we voted for him, he also says, oh, I want to join the duplicate group, and I think it should be brought back. So they have a town hall. He instituted a town hall, screwed all the voting up. We don't know where we stand. Those 2 men should not vote on this. They should not be allowed to vote on this issue, and the rest of the board should be voting. And we should have more input before this is decided, because it's not working out. Thank you.
Next speaker is Howard Lyon.
My name's Howard Lyon, 416 Glacier Park, and I'm here to voice my opposition to any change in our existing guest policy, which would allow the use of our facilities by outsiders on a regular basis. I bought here and I pay my dues in order to live in a private community. I do not want to allow our facilities to be used or rented out as a recreation center for people who either don't have the facilities in their own community or whose communities don't allow outsiders in. Inviting outsiders into our community on a regular basis, whether it's for cards, playing pool, or whatever, amounts to letting them use our private facilities instead of finding other public venues. Again, I'm paying for a private community, and I want it to remain so. This does not mean that a resident can't invite friends and relatives to enjoy their time with the resident and play tennis, ping pong, billiards, or other activities with the resident, as has always been allowed. I'm active in the tennis community, and we occasionally invite guests to play with us. My opposition is to the regular admittance of non-residents to our community and facilities, which allows them all the benefits of ownership. By that I mean the weekly or regular inclusion of non-residents to play cards, pool, or other activities where they just drive through the gate because they're on a permanent access list and then join on any activity as though they are residents. Again, they enjoy all the benefits of ownership and behave as though they have a membership in a private club. The information which will be sent out for comment on the issue is not a vote, and the results may not be broadcast. I believe that our board members generally have the best interest of the community in mind, but the results of the survey are not binding. And having witnessed a few bad decisions by the board, I worry about how they may rule on this issue. I fear that some members of the board have a personal bias in this matter, or they may be swayed by a local minority, similar to what happened on the term limit issue. I've heard that some people in the Bridge Group want to allow outsiders to play here on a regular basis because they cannot play at Sun Lakes or Solaire and they do not want to play at the church. The board member has suggested that charging a fee for these non-residents to play here will make everything okay. That amounts to renting out our private facilities to the entire pass area, and I'm adamantly against that. I think that an issue as emotional and important as this one deserves a vote by the entire community. A vote is an expensive proposition, but it removes any chance that the outcome is determined by less than a full majority of the homeowners rather than just the 5 people sitting here. So I suggest that once this issue has been studied and any proposed changes have been written, that the matter is submitted to a vote by the homeowner. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jim Thorough.
Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to talk today. I want to just say that I'm for a zero guest policy. I did not move to a gated private community to get to know all my neighbors' friends and relatives and to get to know my neighbors. I have lived outside of a gated community my whole life. I've had enough of the world outside of our gated community. I like the people here just fine. I want to say that we have a lot of nice facilities here, but so does the city of Banning, and so does the city of Beaumont. They have senior centers, they have public pools, they have public libraries, they have golf courses, they have all the things we have. I think if guests want to come here, they should go there. If they like our facilities so much, they ought to buy a house and move in. That'd be great. Somebody else said, what's the benefit to our community? And I would ask the board to address that issue. I don't see any benefit to our community for having all these people here. If people want to come and visit, I have no problem with that. I've had guests at my house, we stay at our house. We have a good time. If we want to go out to eat and we want to go someplace else, we go out. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next speaker is Chuck Beckman.
Hi, I'm Chuck Beckman, and I live on Diamond Peak. And
Louder.
No, pull them up to your mouth.
Yeah, pull it out. Yank it.
I live on Diamond Peak, and I'm a member of the tennis club here. And as far as I know the tennis club does not allow non-resident members of the club. We do have invitees that come to play with us. We have a team that plays against other facilities, whether it be Sun Lakes. We play there, we play here. We've played at Sun City and Palm Desert. And those communities invite us, we invite them, and it doesn't harm anybody. They are not members of our club, but they are guests of our club for 2.5 hours or so while our match is going on. I think that's our current rule, that we can have invitees to play in our facilities as long as they're accompanied by our residents. And I don't know that we need to change that. Anyway, I just hope, by the way, I have played on teams from Sun Lakes and the USTA, the United States Tennis Association, and some of our other members have also played on the Sun Lakes team, along with other teams. We're just trying to get some competition, and some of the other clubs like to have some competition, and our team is going to Southern California sectionals being played in Claremont in December. And those are things we'd like to do as our club. Anyway, thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Bill Drushoff from 475 Harbor Peak. I apologize for...
Hi, my name is Bill Prushoff. I live at 475 Harbor Peak. Listening to everybody else, I'm in agreement with them. When we bought our house here and moved here, it was under the impression that it was for the residents, and if we had a family member visiting us once in a great while, that they could, join us in, not for the outside public. I am dead against the outside public coming in here and using our facilities. My money that I pay to the association is for the residents here, not outside people.
Our next speaker is Anita Finkelstein. Anita.
Okay, I'm new here, so I put in what I wanted to speak about, but I realize it's more of a general board meeting subject, so forgive me. But it has to do with the pool. I totally understand, as do many of the people I've met here, about the rules of the pool with young children who have diapers. I get that, and I totally agree with them. We should not allow the unsanitary use of our pool. However, I believe that there's a solution to that, and that would be for grandparents to perhaps bring a kiddie pool adjacent to the pool, far away from the pool, and fill it. Okay, just throwing this out here, guys. Don't yell at us. And filling it with, a little bit of water, maybe from the shower or whatever. And for a 1-year-old to play in a kiddie pool off by themselves. That doesn't affect the pool in any way. Some of you don't have grandchildren, I get that, or your grandchildren are grown. I have young grandchildren. One of them can swim, one cannot. And I understand the rules, and I'm willing to follow them. But I've spoken to many other grandparents who have young children, grandchildren, and they thought it was a great solution. Anyway, throwing it out there. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bill Guy.
Hello, my name is Bill Guy, and I've been here from day one. My friend here, Eric, pretty well explained that most of the other senior communities all have let their clubs run themselves. I'm here to try to correct some of the false and misleading statements that were made at the last meeting, and hopefully it can correct some of the false rumors about the clubs and groups. For instance, it says Sun Lakes and other senior communities restrict guests. That is false. I can give you an example. My wife and I, and many others from this community, as well as Sun Lakes, as well as the lakes, Solera and Hemet, come to the Bridge Club over at Sun Lakes. We meet over there every Tuesday. In fact, when I drive up to the gate, the guard knows me so well that he doesn't even come out and give me ask my identification. That is true. As soon as I drive up, why are you saying that? Your Honor, whatever. Stop. That is me. That is true. He knows me by name. He types out my thing and he hands me my card when I come in. I have no problem with the restrictions they have on their guests over there. I think we ought to have more restrictions on the guests that come in here. But the clubs operate under their own philosophy and what they require to operate. Well, you don't want it, but that's what all the other senior communities do. No, I'm not lying, but you people who go out and say they are restricted are all lying or telling intrudes. Because I know better. I got the club over there, the dance club. They have also sent me letters inviting me over there. So don't say they don't attend you. Okay.
That's
Anyway, the only restriction they have for clubs or groups that I know of is that a person needs to be cleared at the gate. That, of course, does not apply to Bingo. Bingo, they allow anybody. They don't have any restrictions on it. As for some Lakes with their club govern themselves because they believe that the club best know what each club is to operate properly. I wish that few paranoid individuals would get the stories correct before inciting others into believing some great calamity will occur. Sun Lakes has existed for over 35 years and has more than 3,400 homes, more than double the homes we have. Has never been sued by any club, yes. Yeah, well, he was talking. We have been on that for 14 years. But we're not doing it all the time.
Our next speaker is Albert Williams.
Bridge. I've been living here for 4 years. I enjoy living here. Simple. We have rules. We need to enforce the rules that we have. Board members, Eric, thank you very much for your job. But everybody here, let's respect everybody here that's come to this podium. You may not agree with them. You may agree with them. But we live in America and everybody has the right to say what they think.
And our last speaker is Martha Baumgart.
Well, gosh, if that wasn't random, I'd say you saved the best for last, but I can't really say that. Good morning, everyone, neighbors, board. First of all, thank you all. I know this stuff is difficult for everybody. It's obviously generated a lot of anxiety in the community. I'm not here to add to that. I just want to put a little bit of a finer point on something else that is related to this. You know, as both a resident and experienced leader of a group here in Four Seasons, I applaud the effort to clarify and redefine the rules for clubs, groups, and classes for all matters other than non-resident participation. I think this really needs to be addressed because it's a little confusing. The differentiation between clubs and groups might make sense to some, but barring any rational explanation, and it's been a long time I've been trying to really get to this, it's difficult to understand why the same rules should not apply to both clubs and groups, and also clarify the rationale behind the distinction between clubs and groups in the first place. For instance, this is just an example, why can a club have a bank account, but a group cannot? So I'm definitely in favor of establishing clear and consistent rules in this regard. Let's simplify this. With respect to the non-resident participation, I also believe it is incumbent on our board to be very, very clear with us about what problem we're trying to solve here. And, you know, what are the specific circumstances that have triggered a move toward any significant change to the guest participation rules. What is the trigger? What is the problem? Sometimes we come to learn that there are just a few advocates or potentially some offenders, and before you know it, there's a lot of energy and anxiety expended like that which we are all not so much enjoying right now about this issue. We need not modify the rules for all in order to accommodate the desires of some, especially if it's correct. Especially if it is correct, and that's an if, okay? Because I don't think any one of us is privy to all the facts. If it is correct that they're in a significant minority, whatever the issue, whether it's this or any other issue. Also, I strongly feel that any rules change needs to come with a well-defined, functionally effective, and cost-efficient enforcement scheme or mechanism that do not overburden our first service team members. Like homeowner by violations of CCNRs, violations of the rules governing clubs and groups should be formally cited and tracked so that a progressive discipline scheme can be applied for repeat violations. This affords the club or group an opportunity to correct whatever problems are cited. This could be up to and including decommissioning of any club or group found to be in violation more than 3 times. The effect of this... Thank you all.
And with that, we'll move into, there's no unfinished business, so we'll move into new business where the board will review the proposed club group class guidelines. Again, the main changes to the guidelines that it would allow clubs and groups 2 guests per household. It would allow clubs and groups the ability to have a bank account. It would create a resident-only meeting or a ROM. And again, these guidelines would, whatever the board changes and modifies, would always go out for homeowner comment, as any rule change does.
Okay. So there's not a proposal.
It's the same, it's the one from last week.
Okay. And the proposed change says what? There is no proposal. We took up the 50%. We took up the 50%. That's all we did.
Can't hear you.
Took out the maximum amount of guests to be less than 50%,
Yes.
to be 0%, 10%.
It's up to each club. What are we voting on?
Yeah, there seems to be some confusion. I think from hearing people today and some of the other things that have been said, there's a lot of confusion as clubs and groups, and sometimes I have the same confusion. As a resident, and even as a board member, if I'm allowed to say, I am for members of clubs and groups to be residents only. I want to put my glasses on, but I think if we have resident non-members that want to participate in the club, they can do that. So we're still residents. The problem I think we're seeing here today, and I have, and I know some of all the board members are concerned about our residents first. Everyone here believes residents first. And I think a non-resident guest should be not a regular attendee, but an occasional fill-in. That I can understand. I'd like to see some of those comments at least being put out with this proposal, because there's a lot of confusion here on clubs and groups. There's a lot of confusion on clubs and groups, bank accounts, non-bank accounts. I'd like to see everything being handled pretty much the same, so it's easy for us mature individuals to follow.
It's my understanding that only residents can be a member of a group. Isn't that correct?
Correct. A member of the group or a club is a resident.
Is a resident.
But the issue is that there's outside guests that are invited to that club or group that are coming in, and that's the concern from homeowners.
Correct. But outside residents cannot ever become a member of a group.
Correct.
Correct. And that should stay that way.
Absolutely, it should stay that way. Like I said, I think part of the problem is a lot of them are regular attendees of the club. And that's why.
So then we'll revise the guideline before going out that it will not have regular outside attendees, but only on occasion.
Occasional fill. I'm only one person. I'm not trying to speak for the proposal. I am proposing that.
So we have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we make it clear that the clubs, groups, and stuff are for resident members, resident members for clubs. Non-members that are residents can be also part of the club, and that if you're a non-resident from Sun Lake, Solera, or wherever you're from, that you are not regular attendees, but an occasional fill-in at the request of the club. I think if we do that,
I'll second.
Who's gonna police that?
It's been moved and seconded that the proposed changes that go out for comment from the association members state that clubs and groups are for residents who are members of that club or group, non-members who are still residents here within the HOA, and that if and occasionally they need to get someone who is not a resident to fill in on an exceptional basis, that would be permitted. That's the proposed change.
that's the proposal.
Any further discussion on it?
I'd like to make the point that I think we need to make our guidelines as simple as possible and as clear as possible, and we should be able to enforce them with the minimum effort. And my concern is that the more we talk, the more complex the guidelines get, and the more difficult the enforcement becomes.
I agree. Whenever we have too many rules set up, it's difficult to enforce them. We need a simpler list of rules, and I always think it's important to have 5 or 6 rules, not 50. You can't enforce 50. You can enforce maybe 5 or 6. And I also think that the community also has to get involved and help us to know when there are situations where there are a permanent member coming all the time that doesn't live here. We don't know that if somebody doesn't tell us or share with us who that person is. We cannot police a community without that information, because there's nothing in this world that isn't easy for somebody to figure out how to go around the rules if they really want to. So we have to have that information to be able to do anything about it.
I think it's important also that we make every group, club, or class the same, so they all live by the same rules and regulations. There's not a separate set for groups, not a separate set for clubs, and they all meet the same criteria.
And I think that's the biggest part of this change that we saw. We were trying to simplify clubs and groups, and somehow we got so fixated on the guest policy that people didn't realize what we were trying to do. We're trying to make it easier, not harder. We're trying to make clubs and groups the same so that we don't have so many rules that are hard to follow. So, and also, we live here too. I mean, we're trying to get a pulse on everybody's feelings. We're not trying to force something on people. We just want to know what people feel and think before we ever make any decision. We take all that information into account for the entire community. There's a lot of people in this room that are here, and maybe 300-400 people. But we have to remember that 3,000 or more people live in this community, and we have to take everybody's feelings into concern when we're trying to make decisions. So a lot of people have a lot of different opinions, and so we're trying to get a pulse on the entire community.
I'd like to suggest, I'm probably neutral on the committee. I don't like what I've seen in writing so far. I've read the existing guidelines, and I've made a lot of stuff I didn't send to everybody because we're not allowed to have a discussion unless it's in an open forum. I'd like to suggest that the board allow me to rewrite everything that I've heard today and put it into something very simple that covers everything everybody said here today and present it at the next open meeting for consideration by the board.
Right now, we have a proposal that's been proposed and seconded, which we need to dispense with first. So, on the proposal, as stated, by,
So by me and seconded by John Newman.
right. We'll take a vote. Recognizing that we will take up your proposal second. Okay, all those in favor of the proposal that Jerry submitted?
If you just be patient, can you just be patient?
All those in favor of that proposal for right now?
The proposal that's on the, to be voted on right now is the one that I suggested to be added to the thing that's going out, which included the resident members, only the clubs and groups, and resident non-members can be participating regularly in those groups and clubs. Resident non-members. Resident, John. Resident non-members. However, non-resident guests. You want me to start over again in this way? Okay, what I'm saying is regular members to clubs are residents. Non-members who live here that are residents can also participate. Those that are non-resident, don't live here, cannot be members of clubs and can only be an occasional guest to fill in.
Everyone is here as an observer of the board doing business. You know, so you have to be quiet and let us do our business. Please. We have a proposal. It's been seconded. We have a second proposal that's probably going to supersede this first proposal. But we have to dispense with the first proposal first. We can table it, or we can vote it and take the outcome.
Let's vote and take the outcome.
First of all, we're not voting this in. We're voting only to send this out for comment.
That's right.
all this vote means really nothing. Just sending it out for comment. And we really need comment from all the members of this association to give us an idea of what the majority of the members really want. And I think that's really important to do.
Okay, well, the proposal has been seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's all those opposed. Okay, the vote is 3-2 against it. Now, Ed, you had a proposal that we go back to the drawing board and include more current information and a rewrite of what we're attempting to do with the guidelines. Is that correct?
Yes, I am proposing that the board allow me to draft a new proposal based on everything we've seen and add it back to the board in time for the next open meeting.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the board rewrite the proposed changes to our policy on groups, clubs, classes, and guests, and bring it back for the next regular board meeting. Any further discussion?
Just make sure you make it simple enough to understand it.
Okay.
Right, and also, this is definitely it's gonna be simple and it's going out for the 28 days, is that correct?
And everyone in this room.
If the board approves at the next open meeting, yes.
It goes out for comment. This is not a rule yet, so it.
All those in favor of the proposal?
Aye.
Aye. That passes, and that completes our business today.
It does. Our next meeting will be August 8th at 1 p.m. here in the bar. So much for that.